Hello everyone, it's me, LinkingX2, back yet again with game 2 of our T1 Live Sandbox review. So in game number 1, T1 managed to throw the game, I don't know, till Africa or whatever, having an open nexus and then losing 2 subsequent fights, allowing the death timers to reach so high that Live Sandbox is able to run it down. Yeah, that happens when the game lasts 40 minutes. The game length isn't really the problem if you have the better scaling comp, but well, teamfight execution, and I think they thought the game was over and weren't really concentrating all that much, leading to some sloppy fights. I mean, Faker and Teddy having like no mana in 2 important team fights is an issue, and obviously, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest issues was the way they approached the Drakes. They got one early, so they bought themselves a bit more time dealing with that issue, but then Live Sandbox, collapsing and being cold and calculated, getting the Drakes on their own, and also having a bit of luck, right? Getting an Ocean Soul, certainly the only Drake, I think, maybe with a Mountain, that could have turned the game into Live Sandbox favor, as then they were matching the T1 sustain. In the bans here we see again the same bans for T1, Akali and Illusion against Summit and Fate, powerful flex picks for them, and the Renekton, obviously a ban that T1 always has. On the other side, 3 AD carry bans, but we don't see the Senna, so they're not scared of Teddy playing that, but they do ban out the Azri now for a potential first pick here for T1. T1 though getting the Lee Sin again. We know now everyone seemingly in the team besides Teddy can play the champion to a high degree. I mean, Carrier was completely smurfing on the champion. Sadly wasn't enough though, but at least that's something. Getting here the powerful flex pick for themselves. Maybe they're rolling back the bot lane. Certainly was not an issue, but against the Thresh, it doesn't change all that much. Thresh E and Gragas E work similar in some cases, and it's just more difficult for the Thresh player in comparison to the Gragas player. And also we see here the Rumble for Kroko, probably for Kroko, right? Could be mid lane, top lane Rumble as well. But here the Rumble obviously getting another piece here of great mid game damage for themselves. Now also with more AP, so it's not everything on Prince, with the Soul carry and the Soul Azri gameplay. 41 they lock in the Tahm Kench, so that's obviously very sad to see, because it means Lee Sin is not support unless there's some hidden dark technology with Tahm Kench, top lane, mid lane, jungle, whatever, which obviously is not really all that strong. That could come in if Sandbox picks certain matchups in these lanes, but let's not expect that. We see the Jinx here coming in for Prince, so with the Thresh being locked in, that's obviously something where she excels best at, right? We talked about this a lot at MSI. Thresh enables these immobile hyper carries like the Jinx and like the Aphelios to come in, and after Prince performance in game 1v1, he sure can be the carry for Live Sandbox in this game again. Laning phase was not good. Mid game, decent, but then in the late game, had the free field. And I mean, that is also a part of the strength Azri has at the moment. He can be so tanky. Yes, sure, Ocean Soul helps, but he's so tanky with his new item bolt and has so much sustain here and there. Also doing a shit ton of damage, and the mobility makes him really hard to kill, and a real menace. We see here now the bans Gragas and Diana against Kaz. So AP junglers being banned obviously makes a lot of sense, with Lee Sin being in either the mid lane or the top lane, in their mind at least, right? So banning that away. Then also here on T1 side, banning Summits and Fate's champion. Not that there were huge issues, besides the 2 flanks from Fate in the later stages, but that's kinda in the random category. So that's at least getting them off comfort. Then we see the Jace here being picked up with the Jinx and the Rumble, they continue to have long range. Also, Jace, a champion like the other 3 carries that benefits greatly from the Thresh W. Let's pause here. And then Azir Volibear for T1. So Faker will pilot his Azir, Volibear will go into the jungle, and Kana will play the Lee Sin. I mean, you could swap a few of these champions with each other, right? Lee Sin, support Tahm Kench top or something like that. But that's not what we're going to expect. So that at least continues here with the scaling. Now they have more frontline, they have a bit more engage. So their comp is a lot easier and more reliable to play. And not really reliant on like flanks and picks from a Lee Sin or a Diana, which was a bit of the issue. I certainly think they were, or they should have been able to pull that off, but I guess Ocean Soul is kind of bitch. And then we see here last week Wukong. So Wukong obviously very good against immobile carries, and the Senna and the Azir certainly fall into that category. Yes, there's a Tahm Kench to protect them at least somewhat, but Wukong with his ultimate, now after the rework, knocking up twice, will take the deal, right? Knocking up Tahm Kench with a Senna in his belly, then Senna comes out and then he can knock up her again. So yeah, that's that. But this means that Jace will go into the mid lane, into the Azir. Certainly a matchup that we haven't seen in quite a while, but still very good for the Jace. Right, range advantage against Azir is still a very nice thing. And Wukong into Lee Sin. After the Lee Sin nerfs, I think this is quite in Wukong's favor. But we have to see. Overall, in the jungle, Rumble will win in terms of clear speed. Let's go here and take use this here. Yeah, no crazy swaps. Then for the bot lane, Jinx Thresh against Tahm Kench and the Senna. Usually would go into the Jinx's favor, but yeah, after game number 1 we saw the strong laning phase from T1, and I would again assume that their bot lane is able to handle themselves quite effectively here. Croco obviously exerting a bit more pressure from the jungle position than in game number 1, but yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. Mid lane again, I think there's not a lot happening. Fake obviously had a great laning phase in game number 1, but here I think will work out similarly. So yeah, T1 here, again scaling. Similarly, Liv Sandbox also has certainly a great scaling. Which team comp is easier to play? I would say T1 has a bit of an advantage in that department, but Liv Sandbox certainly has a wombo combo potential right there upon all the ults, and then yeah, just burst down the target, right? Then if the target is bursted down, there's little way Tahm Kench or a Senna can intervene with their heals or their or Tahm Kench W, E, whatever. So yeah, both teams really are packed for the later stages. For the mid game, I have to say Liv Sandbox has a bit of an advantage here with their mid jungle 2v2. Should be way stronger. Drake control, yeah, again could be snowballed from this mid jungle duo into the bot lane. So yeah, I think the Sandbox might be able to pick up the first Cloud Drake here. But we have to wait and see how this turns out. I hope T1 is able to make a comeback and we see each other in game number 3. But till then, I still wish you a great time and hope we see each other just around the corner.